Hello and welcome to Finger Thinking, a channel dedicated to analog productivity and creativity tools. Okay, so today's pen is another Chinese cheapie. It is the Jinhao 82. So the Jinhao 82 is another pen that is inspired by a much more famous and much more expensive pen, and that would be the Sailor Pro Gear Slim. Now, I don't have a Sailor Pro Gear Slim, so I can't do a comparison, but for the most part, they do look pretty similar. So I'll put a photo up in the corner so we can compare, but from what I can see is the big differences between the two, that on the Jinhao, we only have the metal band. On the Sailor, there is an additional little kind of slim metal band in here. There is no logo on the finial, and then the pen clip itself, it's pretty plain. On the Sailor, there's a bit more engraving. So otherwise, from a distance, this could fairly be mistaken as a Sailor Pro Gear Slim. The other thing with this particular pen is that I don't think the Sailor pen comes in this avocado green color, but this is available in a whole bunch of colors. So yes, if you are a super fan, then yes, you'll know that this is a fakie based on the color, but otherwise, it's not a bad looking pen. Okay, so this pen came from eBay. I bought it about 2 years ago. It cost me the princely sum of $4.88 Australian, which is like $3 US. The listing that I bought from is still available, but the price has gone from sub $5 to about $14 to $15, depending on the color that you get. There are a number of different listings, certainly on eBay for this pen. You can also get it on Amazon, but on Amazon Australia, it jumps up to about $27. And I have no doubt you can get it on Temu, but I don't spend a whole lot of time on Temu. One thing I did notice though, when I was just having a bit of a quick flip through eBay prior to making this video, was that there are a number of versions of the Jinhao 82 from various sellers on eBay, and they don't all look like this. So I bought this 2 years ago, when I was still pretty new to the fountain pen game and just buying pens for shits and giggles. And so this one is an all stainless model. So in the Jinhao, in the Sailor Pro Gear Slim, like I think there's the black one does come in an all stainless. Well, I think it's called rhodium plated, but there's no gold trim on it. So this pen doesn't have any gold trim on it, but you can actually get this pen in avocado and in a bunch of other colors, which has the gold trim, so the band and the clip, and then a gold nib as well. So I haven't gone that fancy for this video. This is the most basic of the knockoff versions. But anyway, we'll get into it and just have a quick look. Okay, so if we look at the pen from basically left to right, one side to the other, there is no logo on the finial. It looks like a flat finial. It's actually a little bit convex, so I can't stand the lid up, so I can just rest my pen in it. If I wanted to have the lid up, I would have to stick some blue tack or something underneath it to use it as a pen holder. So that's a nuisance, but it is what it is. The band at the top, now all this chrome trim is just chrome plated plastic. It's certainly not chrome plated metal. So it's just a simple band up the top. This pen clip here is attached to the band. It's a pretty stiff pen clip, like moving that, I know I don't have any fingernails, but that's not really wanting to move at all. If I get the tool, I can push it under, but I don't want to do it too many times. I'd be worried about scratching the pen, the body of the pen. And I think if you were really flexing that clip too often, eventually you'll find that it would just work hardens and snaps off. Not a problem for me because I don't tend to use the clip, but just something to be aware of for you. Right, the body of the pen itself is definitely plastic. It's not resin, it's just cheap plastic. So the pen is very light. The decorative band here, again, this is just chromed plastic. It does say Jinhao, that's laser engraved on that. There's no other markings on the band, just the Jinhao. If we take the cap off, it's a screw thread cap. Not my favorite, but I believe that's a faithful reproduction of the Sailor Pro Gear Slim. The lid's not going anywhere. Once that's on, that's not twisting itself off. So that will be a benefit for people who who might kind of have their pens just kind of knocking around. So if we look at the nib is, this is just a stainless steel nib. It's pretty plain. It has, I'll zoom in and see if we can see on it that there's a little bit of engraving up the top. It has the Jinhao logo engraved just in here. And then it says Jinhao on the bottom, and then it says F. So I don't know how well, I think that's probably picking up okay on camera there. But yeah, so pretty standard, pretty similar to the nibs on my other Jinhao pens. The only difference is if I compare that to, say, the Jinhao 88, which has the same design on the nib, though it doesn't pick up as well because it's an anodized nib. These nibs are pretty similar, but this one is stainless steel. Oh, this one is steel. So this is the only steel nib I have in a Jinhao pen that isn't anodized. So it'll be interesting to see how this writes. All right, let's just have it putting the lid back on. If we look at the rest of it, it has an avocado plastic section that's the same avocado color as the rest of it. There is another little decorative band in here. Now that stays on the section itself. It's not attached to the barrel, and it's all part of this seat for the cartridge or the converter. This is an O-ring, so this isn't plastic. This black ring here, that is definitely rubber. So just a little bit of extra protection if for some reason your cartridge or your converter did seal. So that's quite a nice detail, especially on a sub $5 pen. It comes with the standard Jinhao converter. So this one came with this converter. I did have a look online. It does look like some of the other models of this, the other sellers have converters that are a different type. But oh well. These converters seem to be okay. It's a pretty plain converter with no, there's no ball bearing or kind of spring agitator or anything. The converters that some of the other pens with look like this. And this is actually looks a lot more similar to the Sailor Pro Gear Slim converter. But this is out of a Gulnor or something that I'll do a review of in the future. But yeah, so not all of the converters for all the sellers look the same, which makes me wonder if they come out of the same factory or not. I don't know. But yeah, so I haven't really used it with the converter. I do find that the Jinhao converters tend to be kind of, they have a much more robust feel than, say, this Gulnor, which just rattles around and just feels flimsy. Anyway, so I haven't really used it. I will later in the video try it with the converter. I've had some feedback that I keep saying, oh, I don't use a converter, I don't know if they work, and you guys would like to see that. So that's very easy for me to do. But yeah, so this is a chromed plastic section. These pens now, cartridges that fit in this pen. It's an international fitting, so it's just a standard international fitting. If I use like my standard like Lamy, these are the cartridges, not the Lamy, the online cartridges that I like to refill. So that does fit in here, so that will fit in this pen. And then it will take just the small standard international cartridges as well. Okay, so I'll put that back together. The barrel of the pen is really plain. It's just plastic. It's thickest in the middle. It has a taper. It has another chrome plastic trim band at the end. And then the end cap is just, again, flat or almost flat. The pen, I don't post my pens, but for those of you who do, you can post this one. And it does sit quite nicely in the hand because this is quite a short pen. I think this is 123 mil long unposted. So if I compare it to, say, the Jinhao 88, it's way, way shorter. I think this was like 142 or something. Yeah, so that's a substantially smaller pen. And so it means, though, when you post it, the weight of the cap doesn't sit hanging over this side of the knuckle. So you're carrying the weight on your knuckle. So it's actually quite well balanced. But yeah, I just don't like posting pens. So I have, again, quite large hands, but to write with it unposted, it does comfortably reach my knuckle and fit in my hand. I don't find that writing with this pen, I've done some writing, we'll get to that in a minute. I don't tend to find that the section is slippery or anything like that. So, so far so good. Like the pen, it's a pretty decent pen and it's a good looking pen. Next, I think we're going to do a writing test. Okay, so we'll do a writing test now. I will say up front that I've had a bit of a difficult relationship with this pen. It doesn't get used a lot because it has feed issues which drive me up the wall. And so thus far it's certainly been ink dependent. But one of the things I will do on this video is we'll do an ink test, see if I can get it to flow at all. But I have a couple of tools, and if that doesn't work, we will try adjusting the nib. Okay, so first I'm not going to use, I'll check the converter later in the video, but in the beginning I'm just going to use a black, this is a black Kaweco cartridge. The actual color itself is pearl black, and we'll just put that in there. Let's see how long this takes to start. Okay, so that's not looking good at all, is it? It's not. The nib has been completely clean. I put it in the ultrasonic cleaner and let it dry for a couple of days. So this should be, I actually even disassembled this nib to make sure it was completely clean and ready to go. But no, it's not liking it. So let's get out the cheaper Amazon paper, and we'll just, so I'm not scratching up my nice Rhodia paper, and we'll just see if we can get the nib going. So one thing that I can see though is it's a bit of a scratchy nib, like it's certainly kind of scratching. I can see the lines. I don't know if this is possible on video. I can see the marks of the nib in the paper. So the two lines that come from each of the tines. All right, okay, so I am going to jump off camera and play with this a bit, and see if I can get the ink working. But yeah, straight off. And that's one of the reasons I didn't want to jump straight into using a converter, because if you use a converter and then you suck the ink up through the nib, then you have it may give you a false idea of how well the ink flows because you've already got ink in the feed. So I will be back soon. Okay, so a few strokes after I jumped off for a moment, this pen started working. Okay, so that seems to be going all right. I will get the rhodia paper back out and we'll have a look. So far it's a little bit scratchy. I don't know if you can hear that on the microphone when I'm not talking. So I'll just try writing a sentence with it. Okay, so look, this is pretty scratchy. I'm surprised. Yeah, I've had so many issues with this pen previously, which I've just never used it. So what I will do is I'm going to jump off now for a while and I'm going to write with it and just see if maybe I fixed the issue when I cleaned it. One of the things I did notice before I pull it apart, that the feed, let's see if I can get that on camera. So the actual feed wasn't lined up properly. It was sitting a little bit kind of over to the left. It's still not completely perfect, but it's way better than it was. So that might have been the issue, and I've inadvertently kind of fixed it when I pulled it apart to clean it. But it might be like that Staedtler Triplus video the other day where it would just kind of feed through slugs of ink. So I'll be back soon and I will let you know how it's writing. Okay, so I've just written a couple of thousand words with this pen and I've had no issues. So I really am wondering if indeed the feed alignment issue that I fixed when I pulled it apart to clean it did fix the issues that I had. Because I'd even had this pen before I got this pen. I let my dad use it for a while. And he complained, one of the reasons he gave it back to me was he didn't like it at all. So there we go. So yeah, if the feed, the issue was that the feed here was sitting way over to the left. So if that's an issue that you have, just check the underside of the pen. That was a really easy fix. Okay, so I suppose the next step is I'm just going to try this on some cheap paper. So get the Amazon back out. So that kind of scratchy, that hard start there, that was just from me waving the pen around for a few seconds. So it wasn't it's not several minutes that I've had the cap off. So that was pretty quick to be hard starting. Okay, so already this pen writes a lot nicer on this cheaper paper than it does on the expensive paper. All right, well, yeah, so far, interesting. I am just going to grab the Jinhao 88 and just compare the F-nib of the Jinhao 88 with this. Okay, so this is a Jinhao 88 that I did a review on recently. This one is the fine nib, but it's the anodized fine nib. This is much, much smoother, this nib. So Yeah, so these two nibs are chalk and cheese. Let's take this off. So just something to know. Oops, that's not a screw, that's a pull. But yeah, if you're someone who, even though they are the same nib, just one's steel and one's anodized, if you are looking for a scratchier nib, you'll probably like the Jinhao 82. But if you don't like it being scratchy, and you can hear it. If you don't like it being scratchy, then the nib that comes on this is probably a little bit too scratchy for you, or at least the steel nib. I'm now curious to go and buy the gold version and do a comparison, which I'm sure I will do in a future video. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go and clean this out, and then we will try using the converter to see if the converter works. Okay, so I'm back. The pen is now clean, and so what we'll do is we will try it with the converter. So yeah, Jinhao converter just goes in. I've got it, it's a piston converter, so I've got it just wound all the way down, and we will use the Lamy ink. I'll get my paper towel out. I've just got a cheap, nasty writing pad out just in case I spill it. I normally do this at the sink. And then this bottle of Lamy ink, this top bit always comes off. There we go. I've already splashed it. So this is another reason why I don't like converters. I do find them so messy. I find using a little syringe and then cleaning out the syringe each time way easier. So we'll get this down in the ink. Fortunately, because this has got quite a long little kind of housing section here, when your ink starts to get down a bit, it's pretty easy to get it all the way into the ink. Okay, so that filled really, really well for a first time fill on the converter. Like that filled amazingly well. So there's only, sometimes you'll end up with massive air gaps, but it was a good fill. All right. I always try and put the lid back on the ink bottle as soon as I can so I don't accidentally knock it. I've got ink sitting in there, and so let's just dry this off. And I managed to fill that without actually getting any ink on this section. So that's pretty good. That's good. Some pens, when the nib fits a little further back into this section, you have to really dip them down. But this sticks out a decent way, and so that worked. I'm pretty happy with how nicely that converter feed worked. All right, let's get rid of this. So we'll come back to the Rhodia paper, and it should work straight away because we've just fed the ink through the feed. So yep, that works great, guns. And the big point of trying the converter out was just to see how well that fills. I could have expressed it and then filled it again and then done the shake to get the air bubble down the bottom. I'm not going to leave the ink in the converter after this video, so I'm not really kind of interested in get it perfectly full. But as you can see, I'm like it's a pretty good fill. All right. I think that means it's time for final thoughts. Okay, final thoughts. Should you buy yourself a Jinhao 82? Look, for under $5 Australian, if you can get it for that price, why not? It's light, it's cheap, it's plastic. You're not going to be sad if you lose it. It's still a good looking pen. It comes in so many colors if you buy the fakers. And then you can get ones that have kind of like gradient finishes and bits and pieces. You can get multiple finishes on the trim. So the nib itself is a little scratchier than the same nib that has been anodized. Anyway, it is well made. The converter, I think these are the best converters out of all of the really cheap pens. Even just looking at the quality of that versus this other nasty little one just look at that. That's crazy. That came out of a Gulnor or Gullor pen, or like some super cheap fountain pen. It fits really well in there. I don't think that this will be risky if you wanted to commute with it. It does have that O-ring, so you have that kind of additional protection should for some reason the converter or the cartridge, if you're using a cartridge, leak. If you like to clip it on stuff, this is going to drive you nuts because it just isn't flexible. But yeah, this is a pretty solid little pen. It is a little pen, so if you do have if you have big hands, you are going to find that this is quite short. But you can post it if indeed you want to. It doesn't affect the balance in a negative way because the weight still sits forward of your knuckle. For me, this pen is definitely a buy. Okay, and that's the review. So thank you very much for watching. Oh goodness, I've got ink everywhere. Thank you very much for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. Please leave me a comment if you have any feedback or any questions or any other videos that you would like me to do. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a great day.